Back when I was 15, I took a babysitting job I found online. It seemed like easy money, but the house held secrets I wasn't prepared to find. It was a Craigslist ad, posted by a woman who worked overnight shifts. She needed someone to stay at her house with her 6-year-old daughter, Rose. The ad said Rose would be asleep when I got there, and would stay asleep the whole night. The pay was almost double what I normally got. I was a kid, it sounded like free money. My mom talked to the woman on the phone for a long time, asked all the usual questions, and said it sounded fine. So the next night she dropped me off. The house was at the end of a quiet street, every light blazing. The key was under the flower pot, right where the woman said it would be. I waved my mom off, stepped inside, and locked the door behind me. It was dead quiet. The house looked normal, toys by the couch, a pink backpack, kid drawings on the fridge. I wanted to get the lay of the land, so I started walking around. The kitchen led to a hallway with bedrooms. I glanced into the first open doorway. There was a man standing in there, facing the window. Just standing there, looking out at the pitch black. I froze. He must have heard me because he turned around. He was smiling, a big, empty smile with a missing front tooth. I managed to stammer out, "Who are you?" He didn't say a word, just kept smiling. I backed out, fumbling for my phone, and called the number the woman had given me. She answered, sounding tired. I told her, my voice shaky, that there was a man in the house. There was this pause. Then she went, "Oh, right, that's my brother. He has dementia, sometimes he wanders. He's totally harmless, sweetie." Sorry, I should have mentioned it. She told me to help myself to food, said I could sleep in the guest room at the end of the hall. I hung up. Her explanation didn't sit right. If her brother lived there, why wasn't he in the ad? Why didn't she tell my mom? I stood in that hallway for a minute, listening. The room he'd been in was still open, but I couldn't see him anymore. That was worse somehow. I decided to check the other doors. 3 of them were locked. Solidly locked, the 4th opened a few inches before catching. I peered in. It was just an empty, dark room. I felt silly then, like I was overreacting to a sick old man. I headed for the guest room. On my way past the kitchen again, I looked at the fridge. The drawings, the paper was yellowed at the edges. One of the magnets had a fine layer of dust on it. The pink backpack by the chair looked faded, like it had been sitting in the sun for years. A cold feeling started in my stomach. I'd been there almost 40 minutes. I hadn't heard a peep. I hadn't seen a bedroom for a kid. No recent toys. Nothing. I got to the guest room. It was small, plain. I put my bag down and saw there was no lock on the door. When I turned around, he was there. At the far end of the hallway, just standing, staring right at me. I hadn't heard a single footstep. Then that smile came back. I didn't wait. I stepped into the room and shut the door. My heart was hammering. I sat on the bed, trying to reason it out. I knew about dementia. My great-grandma had it. The wandering, the confusion, it fit. But the feeling was all wrong. I called my mom. I told her about the brother, about the locked doors, about how I hadn't seen or heard a child at all. She was quiet for a long time. Then she just said, "I'm coming to get you." Now, that's when I really got scared. Because my mom wasn't an alarmist. A few minutes later, I heard footsteps in the hall. Slow, shuffling steps. They stopped right outside my door. The handle didn't turn. The door didn't open. I just stared at it, holding my breath. I tried calling the woman. It rang and rang. No answer. That's when the door slowly, silently swung inward, just a crack, maybe 3 inches. I couldn't see who was on the other side. They didn't come in. They didn't say anything. They just stood there on the other side of that gap. That was it for me. I slid off the bed, went to the window, forced it open, and climbed out into the backyard. I ran until I hit the main road, a full block away. I was pulling out my phone to call my mom again when a text came through. From her number, the woman. All it said was, "Where are you going?" I spun around, looked back at the house. Every light was still on. I couldn't see anyone in the windows. I hadn't seen any cameras. How did she know I'd left? I called my mom, told her not to go to the house, to pick me up further down the street. She did, and we drove away and never called that number again. I've turned it over in my head for years. Who was that man? Was Rose even real? Why were all those doors locked? The rational part of me says maybe it was exactly what she said. A brother with dementia. A kid asleep in one of those locked rooms. But I was in that hallway. I heard that silence. And I saw that smile. I know what I felt. You don't forget a feeling like that. Have you ever taken a job that felt wrong from the very first minute? Share your own creepy encounters in the comments below.